and gentlemen, His Excellency Benigno Aquino III, President of the Republic of the Philippines.
Ang pinakamaingay na kumukontra sa atin ay ang ayaw ng transformasyon. Dahil nagsamantala at nakinabang sila sa lumang bahay.
Today on Rappler.
Ang totoo po, hindi naman ako ang kinokontra ng mga ito. Kundi ang taong bayang nakikinabang sa twindadaan.
In his fifth State of the Nation address, President Benigno Aquino hits his detractors, calling them enemies of transformation. President Aquino is silent on the three biggest issues he faced this year: the maritime dispute with China, his quarrel with the Supreme Court, and the pork barrel scam. And investigators say the crash of MH17 was caused by massive explosive decompression. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. President Benigno Aquino delivers his fifth State of the Nation address before Congress. Just a few months ago, the president got the lowest approval rating since he took office. He also received 3 impeachment complaints. He starts out the way he did in previous speeches, enumerating his accomplishments and presenting video clips of success stories of everyday people. But this year is different. He does not mention his predecessor. Instead, he lashes out at his detractors. Katerina tells us more.
A walkout by leftist lawmakers sets the tone for President Benigno Aquino's State of the Nation address. As Aquino begins his speech, leftist lawmakers walk out of Congress. They say they'd rather attend the State of the Nation address or SONA of the masses.
Lahat ng sangkot, kami ay lumabas para makiisa sa sambayan ng Pilipino na kinokondina at inutuligsa ang patuloy na korupsyon, patuloy na abuso ng President Benigno Aquino.
Their protest revolves around the President's controversial disbursement acceleration program or DAP, the subject of impeachment complaints against him. In his SONA, Aquino defends the DAP by presenting its beneficiaries. He says the DAP helped more than 223,000 scholars after 1.6 billion pesos went to an education program. Aquino slams critics who do nothing but oppose his reforms.
Ang totoo po, hindi naman ako ang kinokontra ng mga ito, kundi ang taong bayang nakikinabang sa twindadaan. Kontra sila sa napakaraming estudyanteng hindi na kailangang magsiksikan sa mga classroom. Kontra sila sa nagkatrabaho dahil nasanay ng tester. Kontra sa mga maagang naililikas sa panahon ng bagyo dahil sa pinahusay na pag-asa. Kontra sa mga informal settler na nailayo sa panganib dahil sa programang pabahay. Kontra sa mga maralitang libre ng nakakapagpagamot sa pampublikong ospital. Kontra sa mga sundalong may modernong kagamitan kaya mas may kumpiyansa ng ipagtanggol ang bansa. Kontra sa mga moro at katutubong abot tanaw na ang kapayapaan. Mga boss, kontra po sila sa inyo.
As in previous speeches, he also revives the memory of his parents, martyred Senator Benigno Aquino Jr. and democracy icon Corazon Aquino.
Mga boss, binigyan ninyo ako ng pagkakataong pamunuan ang transformasyon. Kung hinindihan ko ang hamon ang inirap nyo sa akin, para ko na rin sinabi na tutulong akong pahabain ang inyong pagdurusa. At hindi matim ng konsensya ko yun. Kung tinalikuran ko ang pagkakataon, parang tinalikuran ko na rin ang aking amatina. At ang lahat ng inaalay nila para sa atin.
Aquino stresses it's his second to the last SONA. He says he's not afraid of the attacks, verbal or physical. It's an emotional speech toward the end, less direct, full of innuendos. This time around, he didn't blame the past administration but his detractors, who in his words, want to sink his boat. Katerina Francisco, Rappler, Manila.
In his nationwide address, Mr. Aquino says nothing about the three biggest challenges he faced this year. The president does not mention the Philippines' sea dispute with China or his recent quarrel with the Supreme Court over the government's Disbursement Acceleration Program, or DAP. Aquino delivered a combative speech against the High Court after it declared three schemes of the spending program unconstitutional. In his SONA, Aquino mentioned the benefits from the DAP but does not talk about the Supreme Court nor the judiciary. Aquino's also silent about the biggest corruption scandal in recent history, which culminated in the arrest of three opposition senators for allegedly pocketing public funds meant for development projects. The internet, Filipino community, and senators also spot a glaring omission in Aquino's speech, the Freedom of Information, or FOI bill. A campaign promise of Aquino in 2010, the FOI bill aims to improve transparency by allowing access to government documents of high public interest. Senator Grace Poe says she hoped Aquino would push for the bill in his address to get the House of Representatives to pass the measure. An emotional Aquino appeals to supporters, echoing the words of his martyred father.
Ang transformasyong tinatamasa natin ngayon ay magagawa natin permanente sa gabay ng Panginoon hanggat buo ang ating pananalig at tiwala. At hanggat nagsisilbi tayong lakas ng isa't isa. Patuloy nating mapapatunayan na the Filipino is worth dying for. The Filipino is worth living for. At idagdag ko naman po, the Filipino is definitely worth fighting for.
After downplaying criticism against his administration, Aquino talks about his successor in 2016. Aquino says it should be someone who will continue the programs his administration started.
Sa 2016, pipili kayo ng bagong pinuno ng ating bayan. Ang sa akin lang po, para ipagpatuloy at mas mapabilis pa ang pagbabagong tinatamasa ng ating lipunan. Isa lang ang batayan sa pagpili ng papalit sa atin. Sino ang wala ni katiting na dudang magpapatuloy sa transformasyong ating isinasakatuparan?
Rappler sources say the president's party is grooming party mate and close advisor, Interior Secretary Mar Rojas, to run in 2016. Earlier in his speech, Aquino praised Rojas and other cabinet secretaries for their work in the rehabilitation of provinces devastated by Super Typhoon Yolanda, or Haiyan. Hundreds gathered to protest President Aquino's fifth State of the Nation address. They say the time for giving him a chance is over. Pia Renata reports.
The rally during this year's State of the Nation address takes on a new sense of urgency. It's President Aquino's second-to-the-last SONA, given during his fourth year in power. Protesters say their patience is wearing thin.
The time for excuses is over. Now is the time for accountability. Kailangan may managot.
Hundreds of protesters come in a spectrum of colors, representing the kaleidoscope of issues they want to raise, from land reform to corruption to poverty.
Protesters wonder if his last years will bring change for all Filipinos. The rally is dotted by metaphors symbolizing their discontent. We see red ribbons in place of Aquino's yellow ribbons, and protesters were burning effigies symbolizing him as the pork barrel king.
Those who believed in him say they've been let down. Comedian May Paner takes the stage in a terno she wore when she still believed in Aquino.
Ano ang nangyari magmula noon? Walang tunay na pagbabago. Akala natin magbabago para sa kabubuti, yun pala, ang dulo ng tuwid na daan ay bangin!
As the president finishes his speech, the police push back the protesters with water from hoses. Every year, protesters push back the barrier that separates them from Congress. This year, they fail. Pia Renata, Rappler, Manila.
Rehabilitation Secretary Ping Lacson says President Aquino approved the local rehabilitation plans for Tacloban City and 5 other areas hit by Super Typhoon Yolanda, or Haiyan. The rehabilitation for these 6 local government units will cost 96 billion pesos or about 2.2 billion US dollars. The Budget Department can now release funds to implementing agencies, and rehabilitation projects can also begin anytime. It's been nearly 8 months after the typhoon killed more than 6,000 people, but unapproved plans delay the rehabilitation process. Lacson says his agency will submit the comprehensive rehabilitation plan for Yolanda hit areas on August 1. Alleged fund diversion scam mastermind Jaene Zaplan will be detained inside a regular jail after all. Interior Secretary Mar Rojas says the Philippine National Police will follow the commitment order issued by Anti-Graft Court Sandigan Bayan last Friday. Napoles is currently detained at a camp in Laguna over kidnapping charges on orders from the Makati Regional Trial Court. The Sandigan Bayan orders her transfer to Camp Bagong Diwa in Taguig City. PNP spokesman Chief Superintendent Ruben Teodor Sindak says the transfer happens Monday night. Napoles faces plunder and graft charges before the Sandigan Bayan, along with Senators Bong Revilla, Jinggoy Estrada, and Juan Ponce Enrile. Over 1 million members of Iglesia ni Cristo trooped to the Philippine Arena in Bulacan for their centennial celebration Sunday. Katerina returns with this report.
Now 100 years old, the Iglesia ni Cristo makes the world feel its presence all the more. On its centennial, the Iglesia ni Cristo or Church of Christ breaks 2 world records. One for the largest mixed-use indoor theater in the world, the Philippine Arena, and another for the largest gospel choir, which sang during its centennial on Sunday. Iglesia spokesman Edwil Zabala says this achievement brings pride also to the Philippines.
Pinakikita natin na sa kabila ng katotohanan ng maraming negatibong balita, at kayo mismo alam ninyo yon, maraming problema. Meron din namang nangyayari dito sa Pilipinas na maganda, masarap ibalita sapagkat maganda ang naging layunin sa likuran ng pangyayari.
Up to 1.5 million members of the Iglesia trooped to the Ciudad de Victoria for the centennial. Many of them spent the night in the Ciudad de Victoria, vowing to make the Iglesia grow all the more in the next 100 years. Katerina Rappler, Bulacan.
A baby girl born Sunday tips the Philippine population to 100 million. Baby Chonalyn was born at the Dr. Jose Fabella Hospital in Manila at 12:35 a.m. 2012 research by the University of Asia and the Pacific projects the Philippines will grow to 109.74 million in 2020. By 2030, the Philippine population is expected to hit 126.32 million. 500 million people live in Asia, who now live in slums. Asia is the region with the highest growth rate. The United Nations predicts Asia's population will be over 5 billion people by 2050. Habitat for Humanity's Charlie Aiko says housing deficits across the continent need to be tackled decisively now, as they'll become much harder to solve in the future. For our social media post of the day, in a video that spread on Facebook, 2 drivers were caught in a heated argument in the middle of a flyover along EDSA and near Camp Crame. A man wearing a blue shirt kicked the door of a white taxi and tried to stop its driver from getting out. He pulled out a gun as the taxi driver emerged holding a sharp-pointed object. The 2 argued for a while before the man in the blue shirt put his gun away and then drove off in his Mercedes-Benz. But the taxi driver took off after the car, cutting it off at another side of EDSA for another round of confrontation. The video was shot from inside one of the public buses on EDSA. Investigators say the crash of Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 was caused by massive explosive decompression. This comes after the United Nations or UN condemned the crash that killed all 298 people on board the passenger plane. In a statement, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Navi Pillay says the shooting down of MH17 over rebel-held territory in Ukraine may be a war crime. She calls for a thorough probe, adding, "Every effort will be made to ensure that anyone committing serious violations of international law, including war crimes, will be brought to justice no matter who they are." Last week, the Red Cross said Ukraine is now in civil war. Latest figures from the UN show more than 1,100 people have been killed in fighting on the ground in East Ukraine. The UN Security Council on Monday joins U.S. President Barack Obama in calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The Security Council resolution comes during a lull in fighting in Gaza early Monday, the beginning of the Muslim Eid al-Fitr festival. Israel and Hamas earlier ignored calls for a truce despite mounting civilian casualties. At least 1,032 Palestinians have died in the fighting, as well as 43 Israeli soldiers and 3 civilians. Obama also stresses the need to, quote, ensure the disarmament of terrorist groups and the demilitarization of Gaza. Palestinian representative to the United Nations Riyad Mansour is disappointed with the Council's statement. He says, quote, they should have adopted a resolution a long time ago to condemn this aggression and to call for this aggression to be stopped immediately. Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 6, after his resounding victory, Indonesia's President-elect Joko Widodo, or Jokowi, now has to implement reforms and deliver on campaign promises. The challenges are enormous. Indonesia is dogged by corruption, bureaucracy, and poverty. Jokowi pledges to scrap energy subsidies, eating up 20% of the state budget. He also promises to upscale his Jakarta Health and Education Card program to the national level. Jokowi may also encounter challenges in parliament, where allies of rival Prabowo Subianto hold more seats. At number 9, fans of a Korean baseball team won't need to worry if they can't get to the stadium. They can have robot fans stand in for them. The Hanwha Eagles are bringing in a crowd of robots that fans can control over the internet. The robots can cheer, chant, and display the face of the fan controlling the machine. A football expert says the novel idea can be monetized and can provide fans with a different viewpoint. And at number 10, Lucy, the film starring Scarlett Johansson as a drug mule turned superhuman, took in $44 million in North America over the weekend. Universal Pictures says audiences were attracted to the story of the main character accessing more and more of her brain to reach superpower levels. People have also been wanting to see Johansson in an action role, something she's been doing a lot lately with the Marvel movies. At a far second is the film Hercules, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, bringing in an estimated $29 million. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter, which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel, and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page. That crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories that have affected our viewers and our readers the most emotionally. If you take a look, these 10 stories have gotten the most number of votes on their mood meter, and what an interesting day it's been. Over the weekend, you heard Iglesia ni Cristo breaks 2 Guinness records. Interestingly, you see 37% annoyed, maybe because of the traffic, but 37% annoyed and a whopping 48% happy. Iglesia ni Cristo breaks 2 Guinness records. And then we've got several on the State of the Nation address today. Aquino on critics, this is one of the sections of the speech. 34% happy, 40% angry. This is all this one. These next 1, 2, 3, 4 stories are all on the State of the Nation addresses, and as you can see, relatively uniform green. Let's go to the story that's gotten the most number of votes. Aquino's 5th State of the Nation address. That's the overall mood meter that's reflected. You have 28% angry and a whopping 62% happy, bringing out the mood of the day. Today, most people are happy. That is Rappler's Newscast for today, Monday, July 28, 2014. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.